Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Matthew Moore in Istanbul. On to the rise and fall of Elizabeth Holmes now. She's the CEO of Theranos, a US medical lab services company. Now, it promised to revolutionize the blood testing industry by using only a few drops of blood in an inexpensive test. But now, federal investigators have barred her from owning or operating a lab for at least 2 years. Here's the background. Elizabeth Holmes launched Theranos in 2003. She was just 19 at the time. In 2013, the company offered a new way of testing blood using a device it invented with just the prick of a finger. Now, Theranos, valued at $9 billion, came under scrutiny in 2015, last year, after an investigation by the Wall Street Journal raised questions about whether the technology actually worked. Well, since January this year, the company has failed inspections by federal investigators and violated several clinical standards. Elizabeth Holmes and her company are now facing a number of consumer and criminal investigations. Now, let's cross live now to Paris, and Craig Copetas is there for us. I know you keep a very close eye on this story, Craig. Look, we'll get to the business side in just a moment, but to a lot of people watching this at home, this was a really promising medical development that could have helped them. Does it work or not?
No, it doesn't work. This is like a grade school science experiment, and that's not me talking. There are currently 8 consumer lawsuits against her, 1 Security Exchange Commission investigation. There's a federal attorney doing a criminal investigation. There's a congressional inquiry. And as you said, the Food and Drug Administration has shut down her labs and said she can't own or run one for at least 2 years.
Okay, what are we supposed to make about of Elizabeth Holmes herself? I know you've spoken to a lot of people who are familiar with her.
Well, Elizabeth Holmes is the result of the power of the self-perpetuating narrative. She's just the most, she's one of the latest kind of celebrity potatoes to come out of Silicon Valley. The king of Silicon Valley was Steve Jobs, and she realized early on that they needed a queen. So she modeled herself as the queen of Silicon Valley, and got a lot of very important people like Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State George Shultz, to get on her board of directors to develop this series of 304 tests that would have revolutionized the medical industry. Believe me, it would have brought down costs. It had global implications. The only problem is that none of it worked, and she wrapped the entire business in secrecy.
Okay, so at the very least, you could say she is a great saleswoman.
Well, she's kind of a cross between P.T. Barnum and Martha Stewart, the American household goods guru-ess. She's very secretive. She surrounds herself now with armed guards. She gave herself a code name even. She's known as Eagle One. She refuses to talk to the press, and when my colleagues at the Wall Street Journal did this story on them, the original investigation, she came out and immediately denounced them and said they made the story up out of whole cloth. Unfortunately for Miss Holmes, the story was true, and she now is continuing to try and bamboozle everyone into believing her, including trying to get some Hollywood producer to do a positive biopic about her.
I see. It was only a matter of time before the word Hollywood and movie and blockbuster were brought up. Okay, Craig, thanks very much for your analysis out of Paris.